Hello, good day everyone. Welcome to today's activity. At this juncture, I will serve as your moderator. My name is Rachel Silvano, and today we will be having a panel discussion. As your moderator, it comes with great honor and privilege to deliver this online assembly. And on behalf of our audiences, or the ones that are watching, I will do my best to relinquish the program successfully. Today, we have gathered here our three panelists who are willing to share their different insights about the topic of 21st century teaching. Starting with our first panelist, Mr. Joffer Messias, followed by Ms. Sherme Rulian and Joyce Jason Colele. Each panelist share his or her ideas on a given topic. The other panelists are expected to be silent and should not interrupt while the panelist is giving her or his insight. At the end of the discussion, the audience is free to ask questions of the panelists. To formally introduce to you all our panelists, the first to give his view, Mr. Joffer Messias.
Okay, so thank you. Moving on onto this discussion, let us talk about globalization. Now, globalization improves the ability of students to acquire and apply knowledge. In accordance to Gupta year 2017, learners' ability to access, appraise, and adopt and apply knowledge is enhanced by globalization, as is their ability to think independently, exercise appropriate judgment, and interact with others to make sense of unfamiliar situations. Based on the Open Society Institute of 2005, the first is that globalization raises demand for education, particularly university education, putting pressure on the entire system to provide higher quality education, which often has unintended educational implications, particularly in terms of equity. Now, Zoot year 2006 in Simo Inotect categorized the 21st century teaching and learning changes. First on the list is new learning environment. Now, according to EdTech staff, a modern learning environment typically includes three important components, which is connected devices such as notebooks, tablets, or even smartphones. Next one is the audiovisual tools such as projectors and touchscreen displays. And third one is functional and furniture that allows students to learn in various ways at various times, such as standing desks, collaborative workstations, and connected seating. Now, example of a modern learning environment is what we call a flexible classroom. Now, a flexible classroom spaces allow teachers better engage students and facilitate the mix of solo, small group, and whole class learning that is now considered important to student achievement in a modern learning environment. Second, we have the learning content. I may say new learning content. Now, students master material while producing, synthesizing, and analyzing information from a variety of subjects and sources with an understanding of and respect for our other cultures in the 21st century learning. Ramey, 2016, stated that integrating the curriculum to engage and challenge children focuses on some of the most prominent components of the 21st century education, which are problem solving, critical thinking, teamwork, real learning, appropriate use of technology, and cross-disciplinary teaching. Third is the new process of learning. Based on the Center of Development and Learning, the learning process has 6 interactive components, which are attention, memory, language, processing and organization, graphomotor skills, and higher order reasoning. Not only these processes interact, they also interact with emotions, class climate, behavior, social skills, teachers, families. In order to engage, motivate, and teach all learners at optimal level, Teachers understand the general learning process, understand and respond to each student's individual and emotional cognitive profiles, and learn a variety of ways. You need to choose effective educational strategies and tactics for your learners. The fourth one is about the new types of learners, in which I said earlier that these learners learn more on performance rather than books. They work as a group, not as an individual. They think critically rather than just thinking directly on a certain subject. Lastly, we have the new types of teachers. Now, teaching in the 21st century means that teaching in the way you have always taught, but with today's tools and technologies. It means having the ability to utilize everything important in today's world and not only enable students to live and prosper in today's economy, but also to guide and prepare them for the future. This is according to Cox 2019. That would be all. So, in my discussion, I will focus on the 21st century learners. So, when we say 21st century learners, these are those that acquire necessary skills in the world. These learners learn more on performance rather than books. They work as a group, not as an individual. They think critically rather than just thinking directly on a certain subject. Now, based on REACH 2010, cooperation, digital literacy, critical thinking, and problem solving are examples of 21st century skills that supporters believe schools should teach to help children thrive in today's world. In broader sense, though, the idea of what learning should involve in the 21st century is open to interpretation and controversy. Now, Sarah Brown Wesley, a 2010 National Teacher of the Year Award winner, stated that 21st century learning is a teaching method that combines material and skill. Students who lack abilities are forced to memorize data, recollect specifics for worksheets, and reduce their educational experience to a passive experience. Now that is kind of like wrong. Students may engage in problem solving or team working activities that are simple or lack rigor due to a lack of content. Now, learning in the 21st century entails returning to historical landmarks to guide us into the future. Embracing a 21st century learning paradigm necessitates examination of the aspects that could make such as learners who are willing to take intellectual risks, cultivating learning dispositions, and lastly, nurturing school communities where everyone is a learner. That would be all.
Thank you, Mr. Joffer Messias, for sharing your noteworthy intuition. Mr. Messias shared that 21st century learners are those that acquire necessary skills in the modern world. On the other hand, let's hear what our second panelist thinks of the same situation. Ms. Charmaine Rolian, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Miss Rachel, for that wonderful introduction. So now let's proceed to my part, which is the 21st century teacher competencies or standards. So considering that we live in the knowledge society, we are bound as teachers to implement strategies that motivate students to acquire their knowledge and develop competency and skills to confront an ever-changing, globalized world successfully. So in this, the UNESCO 21st century approach to education reform, which is based on human capacity development, is applied to the six components of the education system, namely policy, curriculum, pedagogy, information and communication technologies or ICTs, organization, and teacher training. So first, I'm going to discuss the first three components and to be continued by the next panel. So first is the policy. So teachers must know the existing policies in today's educational system. So it is very important. So these teachers must advocate for students in schools by implementing teaching policies and practices. Teachers must discuss national policies and social priorities and be able to create, revise, and implement supportive classroom practices. Also, they must be able to understand education policy reforms and design, implement and modify national programs. So next is curriculum. So teachers, it is important that teachers must know the curriculum that they are going to use in their class. Teachers must have firm knowledge of the curriculum and assessment standards of a subject and must be able to integrate use of technology and technology standards. So it is very important since technology is relevant nowadays. Next, teachers must have deep knowledge of their subject and the ability to apply it flexibly in a variety of situations. Also, teachers must know about the complex cognitive thought process, know how students learn, and understand the difficulties students encounter. Okay, so the third one is pedagogy. So, pedagogy is the method and practices of a 21st century teachers. So, it is how they approach their teaching style in their class, how they give feedback and assessment in the class, or how they deliver the curriculum in the class. So, in this, teacher must know when, where, and how to use technology in the classroom, must have the skills to help students create, implement, and monitor project plans and solutions. So, their role is to overtly model learning processes, structure situation in which students apply their cognitive skills, and assess students in their acquisition. So, that's it. So, before I end my discussion, I will give my views on my topic. So, we often hear about 21st century learners and the knowledge and skills our students will need in the future. So, what about teachers? So, what instructional skills will 21st century teachers need to prepare our students? So, how are they different from the skills teachers needed in the past? So, over the years, the standard of education has greatly improved. So, if school used to be primarily concerned with giving students with specific types of information that they were supposed to apply afterwards, they are now primarily concerned with the life skills that they will able to use and be competent in the real world. So as a teacher in the modern world, they will able to teach students how to learn on their own and how to work in ways that allow them to improve and develop. So, a major component of modern society is the generation of new ideas. So, thus, professionals who are culturally competent, talented, creative, and innovative problem solvers and skillful and critical thinkers are all needed. So they can use new technology which allow for the development of critical thinking. So with that, teacher must understand and possess the 21st century skills or the competence that need to meet these new teaching requirements. So according to Hostan, 1987, the competencies are the requirements of a competency-based teacher education and include the knowledge, skills, and values a teacher trainee must demonstrate for successful completion of a teacher education program. So it is really essential to an educator's pursuit of excellence. So the UNESCO 21st century approach to education reform expected 21st century teacher have competencies in technology, literacy, knowledge deepening, and knowledge creation. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Lian. Mr. Lian talked about the skills or the competencies needed by the modern teacher. So far, we've learned from this perhaps our next panelist, Mr. Colele, will teach us more. Mr. Colele, you may now state your views.
Okay, thank you, Miss Rachel Salvano. Hello, everyone. To continue our discussion, we will talk about ICT, organization, and teachers training. So let's start first with the ICT, or the Information and Communication and Technology. So teacher must be well versed with the basic software and hardware operations, different application, web browsing, and etc. And they must be aware of a variety of subject-specific tools and applications, and able to flexibly use this in a variety of problem-based and project-based situations. Also, they must use network resources to help students collaborate, access information, and communicate with external experts to analyze and solve their selected problems. And lastly, they must be able to design ICT-based knowledge communities and use ICT to support the development of students' knowledge creation skills and their continuous reflective learning. So according to Gafeker 2015, teachers that are well equipped, preparation with ICT tools and facilities is one of the main factors in success of technology-based teaching and learning. It was also found that professional development training programs for teachers also played a key role in enhancing students' quality learning. So let's proceed to organization. So teacher must be able to use technology with the whole class, small groups, and individual activities to assure equitable access. And they must be able to create flexible classroom environment. And lastly, they should be able to play a leadership role in a training colleagues and in creating and implementing a vision of their school as a community based on innovation and continuous learning and enriched by ICT. So lastly, we will talk about teacher training. So they must have the technological skills and knowledge of web resources necessary to improve subject matter expertise and pedagogical knowledge in support to the own development. And they must have the skills and knowledge to create and manage complex projects, collaborate with other teachers, and make use of networks to access informations, colleagues, and outside experts in supporting their own professional development. And they must have the ability and inclination to experiment and continuously learn and use ICT to create professional knowledge communities. So, thank you for listening. That's the end of our discussion. This time, I would like to focus on a 21st century teacher which always look ahead for the future, the way they teach, and how they are going to improve their teaching. To explain further, I would like to elaborate three characteristics which I think would support this statement. As I said earlier, that teacher in 21st century always look ahead for the future, the way they teach, and how they are going to improve their teaching. Number one in my list is that teacher should master integrating technology in the classroom. And we all know that technology nowadays changes time to time. Almost every year, we can see new models of cell phones, computers, and new inventions. So technology make our life a lot more easier and faster. So why not to use it more in a classroom sense? Am I right? Educators can use technology as an advantage in making lessons, giving assignments, projects and activities, and the way they give grades. So a good teacher know how to balance educational technology and can truly transform their students. And an effective teacher know the best tools and how and when to use these tools in teaching. So according to Lazard 2015, educational technology is teaching is of great importance because of the use of information and communication technologies. With the help of various applications for distance education, the internet, teachers, and students themselves They see the advantage of educational technology. Second in my list is that teachers should know how to collaborate. 21st century educators must be able to collaborate and work with others. Working with others is an important skill a 21st century teacher must have. So why? In what way this is important? Working with others give chances to share ideas, expertise, and experiences in teaching. By doing this, educators can learn from others. They can get ideas and strategies which may help to improve more their teaching. To support this claim, according to Pellegrino 2015, teachers' collaboration has been viewed as a critical part of the equation to help the meet. To support this claim, according to Pellegrino 2015, teachers' collaboration has been viewed as a critical part of the equation to help meet the needs of the learners. Lastly, a 21st century teacher is a lifelong learner. As what they always said, learning is unending. Just like educators, learning is unending. We tend to know that lifelong learning is only for students, but teachers also should never stop learning. By joining seminars, workshops, and training in improving their teaching. The education system and curriculum also change. That's why teachers must adapt those current educational systems. To support those statements, Albert Einstein once said, learn from yesterday, learn for today, hope for tomorrow. The important thing is not to stop questioning. That's all I could share for today. Thank you for giving me such time to share and thank you for listening.
Indeed, in the 21st century, teachers, they always look ahead for the future, the way they teach, and how they are going to improve their teaching. Thank you, Mr. Kulele, for sharing your views regarding these circumstances. We are now getting closer to the end of the discussion. Now, let's move on to our question and answer portion. To our dear audience, you may type your questions in the comment box. So, for our first question is from Danica. It states here that, is the teacher the only audience for students' work, or are students encouraged to share their learning with their peers, family, and community? Who would like to answer this question?
Okay, so may I answer that question? So the thing is, students are encouraged to share their learning with their peers, family, and community because it serves as a motivation for the learners. The peers, family, and community, or we can call them as authentic audiences, inspire the learners to participate through social interaction and make use of their learnings to help. In accordance to Burns, year 2016, one of the reasons we want to develop true audiences for students is so that real people may see and interact with their work. We want to bring student work from a stack of papers or a secret digital folder into the actual world. The reason is students can see the meaning of their work when we create authentic audiences for them.
Okay, thank you. Our next question is from Chloe Cruz. She said that, what are the 21st century competencies that are important for teachers to possess?
Okay, so let me answer that question. So 21st century competencies is very important for the teacher to possess. So 21st century competencies have been defined as the knowledge, skills, and attitudes necessary to be competitive in the 21st century workforce. So teacher preparation and professional development should be reworked to incorporate training in teaching key competencies. So teacher must not stop to learn and develop through joining seminars or training where they're able to gain knowledge, develop skills needed for them to impart it to their students or to apply it in their class to become a facilitator of learning. Also, in this world where technology is relevant, the 21st century teacher must need to know how to provide technologically supported learning opportunities for students and know how technology can support student learning. That's it.
Okay, thank you for that question and thank you for the answer, Mr. Lian. Then our last question will be from Mika. She stated that what are some teaching skills and lifelong learning competencies of 21st century teachers?
Okay, let me answer that question again since it related to my views that I shared a while ago. So there are so many skills and competencies that a teacher have. So according to my research, so Shimolev 2002, teacher must perform complex pedagogical duties, be well spoken, in good mental and physical health, stable and tolerant, have a propensity to work with the younger generation, good communicative and observational skills, tact, a vivid imagination, and leadership. So ideally, then, teachers should demonstrate the following competencies, such as effective classroom management, effective teaching practices, effective assessment, and technology skills. That's it.
An additional question was given to us before we end this discussion. It was said that, as said earlier, teachers must master integrating technology in the classroom. How about those teachers assigned in rural areas which cannot access internet or technology? What can you say about this topic?
Okay, so I am happy to answer that question. So that was a really good question from the audience. So this is a serious problem, especially in the Philippines, that there are schools, particularly in rural areas, having this absence of technology. So what must teachers will do? So we all know that teachers already know how to use technology. Their role is to share their knowledge about the use of technology. They can use affordable gadgets such as their personal cell phones to teach how to make PowerPoint presentation using Microsoft Word and get information faster through the use of internet. So the government and the school institutions should find ways to address this problem so that the student can compete and adapt more about the advanced technological learning. So I hope that my answer would satisfy the audience question.
It was indeed a great answer. I wish we had more time to explore more in our discussion, but we do not have enough time. But I would like to give insights that if we are to select and prepare the new generation of teachers equipped with the knowledge, skills to help them to be culturally different and socially advantaged students to learn, to resolve conflict, to respect each other's dignity teachers, and to become socially responsible citizens, and that significant changes are what we're needing right now as teachers. I really appreciate that our viewers, we are able to get some great ideas also. Thank you for listening. We really do appreciate your interest in this very important topic. Have a good day and God bless everyone. Goodbye.